Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, you're not going to believe this crap. Yep, Pitt blocks the Vols from getting tickets, and you're not going to believe what they've done. It's so classless. We're going to get into it. All right, I'm going to show you this article, and it details what Pitt has done. But they don't want the Vols up there cheering for their team, and they've done something that's, I think it's pretty darn despicable, and it's classless. And especially after the way we treated them last year, you know, when you see this, you're going to be surprised. You're probably going to be a little mad too. And the story starts out, Pittsburgh starts an off-field war with Vol Nation that it didn't want. Well, they must have wanted it. It says the upcoming matchup between the Vols and Pittsburgh Panthers this weekend got some added juice on Monday via a report from Jimmy Himes. And if Jimmy Himes reported it, I believe it. It says, according to Himes, Pittsburgh only offered Tennessee seats in the 500 level of the stadium previously known as Heinz Stadium. UT refused those tickets after allotting 2,200 tickets in the lower level of Neyland Stadium for Pittsburgh a year ago. So we offered them 2,200 tickets in the lower area where they can be near the teams, near the field, where they could, you know, have an impact in the game. They've only offered us 500 up in the upper deck, up in the crap seats. It says Tennessee fans apparently didn't buy any of the Pitt ticket allotment since Pitt only offered seats in the 500 level, which UT refused, and rightfully so, after UT allotted 2,200 for Pittsburgh in the lower level last year. UT did get over 400 tickets in Section 101 primarily for their band. So they did let the band come. That's big of them. It says here, this is just a poor look for Pittsburgh as it reeks of them not wanting Tennessee fans to infiltrate their stadium. So they know they're in for it, and they want to do everything they can to give themselves an advantage and not be fair in any way. It says that's a shame considering UT was more than hospitable to the Panthers in 2021. It shouldn't be a surprise, though. Pittsburgh's head coach, Pat Narduzzi, was incensed at the idea of West Virginia having more fans at the Backyard Brawl last week than the Panthers. He even threw shade at ESPN after Pittsburgh's win.
No soup for you. Come back 1 year.
Yep, old Narduzzi said, no soup for you, Tennessee Vols. You can't have any good seats. It says Pittsburgh is obviously concerned about, what, 2,000 fans it would have been out of 70,000 seats? Give me a break. They're worried they would drown out their own fan base. Considering the way Vols fans travel, that probably is a valid concern. They don't want the Vols to have any fans up there. It says, by the way, though Vols fans are resourceful, I have no doubt that many of them will find a way to get tickets through websites and figure out a way to get into the stadium. It says there'll still be plenty of orange in the stadium despite the Panthers' best efforts to prevent that from happening. That's unreal. I've almost never heard of that. I don't know that I have ever heard of that. You offer us a fraction of what we offered you, and you put us in the cheap seats up top where we can have no impact on the game, so you have total domination of the field. That's unbelievable. That really is unbelievable. That's just classless. I've actually got a Pittsburgh usher that's going to show us exactly where those 500 seats were that they offered.
Below the stereo and on this side of the bicentennial glasses, anything between the ashtrays and the thimbles, anything in this 3 inches.
Yep, they were up on the top deck. Anything in this little 2-inch area that includes the chiclets but not the erasers. Isn't that nice? Isn't that swell of them? But at least the usher was nice enough to show us exactly where the seats were. And all I got to say to Pittsburgh is this.
Ooh, it's on, all right.
It isn't on. Nothing's on. It's off.
It's on.
Yeah, the heat just got turned up on this game. It's going to be very interesting. Let's take a look at Pittsburgh and what we're kind of up against and what we're going to need to do to beat them. When you look at their numbers against West Virginia, you know, West Virginia rushed for 190 yards on Pittsburgh, and that's at Pittsburgh. So we're going to be able to run the ball. And they actually weren't very good against the run last year either, which surprises me because they've got a very senior-laden offense and defensive line. But they will give up the run an average of 5.6 yards. Then when you look at Pittsburgh's rushing, they only had 76 yards in rushing, so they're not going to be able to rush the ball against us too much. And if you'll remember, we stopped Ball State as well. I think Ball State only had about 70 yards on us. So I think we'll have an advantage in the rushing. So what they're going to want to do is throw the ball, obviously. Pittsburgh is. And what Pittsburgh was able to do with Slavis is they threw for 300 yards, and that's pretty strong, and that's what they're going to try to do against us, which is why we're going to need to put some pressure on Slovis. He will make mistakes, and he will take sacks. If you watched that game last week, I'm sure you noticed that he took a couple of sacks where he just held the ball too long. And if you rush him and really put pressure on him, he'll throw the ball up and he'll make a mistake and throw an interception. I feel pretty confident about that, but you've got to put pressure on him. He will throw for completions, and he's got a good arm. He just flat out does. He was very good at USC, and he's been very good for Pittsburgh. Now, they had a couple of injuries in the West Virginia game, and it's questionable whether a couple of those players are going to be in the game. One's an offensive lineman, one's a defensive lineman. So, that's the one good thing about playing Ball State is we only had to play our starters about half the game, whereas Pittsburgh was in there the entire game, and it was a rough game. I mean, they were going at it from start to finish, and that's hard on your team. It leads to wear and tear, injuries, everything else. So, we were fortunate in that we had an easy game, and they had a tough one. But it is at Pittsburgh. Fortunately, it's at 3:30, not at night. At night, it's always tougher. At 3:30, the crowd won't be as influential, but it sounds like they've done everything in their power to keep the Vols from having any fans there and try to keep them out. So they will have an advantage, no doubt. And like I said, I don't know that I've ever seen a team do this before. And I definitely think after this, regardless how this plays out, and I think given everything that's happened this week, I doubt Pittsburgh and the Vols will be best friends after this week.
Ed, if I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.
Yep, old Pittsburgh. No suit for you, Vols. You're not going to be allowed to have any tickets of any consequence after they could buy over 2,000 in the lower level last year. So, we were a class act to them, and they are doing the opposite to us. So it is what it is. Can't make this stuff up. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. Just started doing this a couple of months ago, and I could use some subscribers. And I hope you did like the content. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk J.